Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to the 10-Minute Planner, where we talk about events all the time. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us on the 10-Minute Planner. Special guest today, we have Shanté, and I'm just going to let her introduce herself and her business, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. Hey, everybody. My name is Shanté Carlan. I am a photographer born and raised in New York City. I have had the privilege of not just doing portrait photography, but also doing corporate photography and wedding photography. So I have had quite the honor of photographing people in their favorite moments, in their best moments, and just highlighting the good parts of people's lives.
Perfect. Perfect. Um, okay, so let's do some fun things first, right? So
Sure.
what's the best borough in New York?
Duh, Queens. Queens is the best borough in the world. Queens is the only place, I mean, of course, I'm biased, right? Because I'm a Queens girl, but Queens is the only place in New York City where I can like skip a pebble and hear like 10 different languages, eat at like 50, 100 different restaurants, not see a rat. So let's start there.
Yeah.
And just be immersed in like the entire world without having to get on a plane. And both the airports are in Queens, so I went twice.
That's right.
Mhm.
They are. Okay.
Mhm.
That's right. All right, so when did you first pick up a camera and what made you think this is how I want to tell someone's story?
So allegedly, the lore is that my grandpa gave me a camera first, and my grandpa was a photographer as like a serious hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember it, but the story is that he like walked me through how to take a picture, how to compose a shot, and things of that nature. I've always been into the visual arts. I wanted to be a music video director first. I wanted to be like Hype Williams, Director X. And we had a art project in high school, and my video camera quality was terrible. Okay. But I was like, okay, the video quality sucks on this thing, but the camera, like the photos don't. So, my grandpa did it. Let's see how far I can go with it. And I'm still going. So, yeah, I feel
Oh,
like photography is so cool to me. It's such a way of like marking time and marking history. So that's definitely one of my favorite parts about it. But that's how it all started.
yeah.
Hmm.
What's your favorite? Do you have like a favorite photo that you took so far and can you like describe it?
Yeah,
To dra-
one of my favorite photos ever that I took was for my friend, actually. My
Mhm.
friend, my friend asked me to photograph her daughter's dedication, and it was done at their house. And they are a praying family, capital P, capital F, okay?
Mhm.
And toward the end of the dedication, they had an elder come, and if I remember correctly, I don't know if the elder prayed or if they prayed over her, but I
Mhm.
photographed the image in a way, if I could find it, I'll send it to you. I photographed the image in a way where like you're seeing the hands over her and everybody's
Oh,
praying over her and stuff like that, and it's in black and white. My favorite picture ever. There's just
oh,
so much emotion in that picture. And
mhm.
it's one of those things where it's like, even if I try to recreate it again, it'll never compare to that original photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like in terms of because that's authentic, right? So how do you look for and capture authentic moments in events to capture
Um,
really the feel of the event?
yeah, funnily enough, just being quiet. I used to get
Mhm.
talks too much on my report card throughout my entire school career. So me personally, I'm shocked at how quiet I am when I'm like locked in on events. One thing I like to do across any client inquiry, wedding, corporate, portrait, what are we focusing on? What are we celebrating? And once I have that information, it's easy for me to really cue in on those moments. As helpful as a shot list is, as helpful as a run of show is, there is something really important about a photographer. And I think any event vendor with pivoting, you need to be able to kind of like uh foresee a moment and
Mm-hmm.
get there before it shows up. So there's some times where I might be taking a tiny break and I'm seeing people talking to each other and I'm seeing them navigate a conversation and I'm seeing one of them get ready to like tell a joke or say something funny. So now I'm almost like in the cut with my camera up trying to, perfect my framing before the joke is told. So that way I'm catching the people or the group as they're laughing and not after the fact. Something that I see a lot of photographers do is they'll wait till the moment is happening. And by the
Yeah.
time they get their metering right, their lighting right, and they pulled their camera up to take the picture, the moment's over. So being able to predict the moment before it happens, even if the moment doesn't happen as intensely as I think it's going to happen, just the
Mm-hmm.
fact that I'm there says a lot. So even if I may not catch the moment I'm looking for, they're going to see me and go, "Hey, Shanté, can you take a picture of us? We're having a really good time." And I'm there for that. So me
Right.
being there for the posed picture of them is a plus because I was already there prepared for that authentic interaction, a hug, a joke, a high five, a handshake, um, a business card exchange. If it's weddings, you're not waiting for the officiant to say you may now kiss each other before you pick your camera up. You're catching those sweet moments before the officiant gives those words and, the guests jump for joy and everything like that. Like it's being able to kind of be still and see things before they happen to really get that authenticity.
Um, no, that definitely makes sense. And as a planner, I will pull a photographer, a videographer, like, hey, did you capture that? Da 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 da. Um, I don't like doing it though, because I
Let me
have
tell
to
you
see.
something. Photographer to event planner, please stop. Stop. I
No,
get
and
it. I
the
get it.
only reason why is because like when we work together, I don't have to do that with you, right?
Mhm.
For other photographers, because it so it creates a distinct, because as a planner, I'm working with a client on their event for such a long time, right? That I want to be able to say, here are the special shots that they're looking to capture, like the needs, right? And then here's what they would like. And I pull that out of the client for I want to say about 90% of the events that I do. And when the moment is happening, it's frustrating for me to see the photographer is like cleaning a lens. The conference started, like, take a photo. You know what I'm saying? And then I gotta come get you and like we're here. Like it's happening. Because then what happens
You
is the
know
client
what?
looks back at
That's
it.
why exactly, that's why it's not enough to just be, like, CC'd on an email thread, like, we need to be in the Zoom meetings too, we need to be
Yeah.
present for those meetings too, because I find that with some clients, they'll have the event coordinator on one set of emails, and then they'll have the photographer on another set of emails, and, keeping on the corporate plane, a corporate ick for me is that, like, as an event planner, Cheyenne, like, you'll be present with the client from day dot. Like, the moment that they have the idea, you're there. And then with the
Hmm.
photographer, it's like, oh crap, who's gonna take the pictures? Hey, the event's tomorrow. Are you available? And it's like, well, I don't know what's the scope of work for this event because
Hmm.
you might need a photographer without realizing you need a photographer from the moment from setup to breakdown. And I might have prior commitments that I already gave my word for. So
Hmm.
I think when it comes to corporate in particular, like in the same way that an event coordinator is important, the photographer is just as important because the event planner can tell you how to utilize your budget. But the
Yep.
photographer can and the videographer will show you.
Hmm.
First of all, it's photographic evidence of how that budget was spent, but it's
Hmm.
also showing how much you care about your event. 'Cause it's a difference
And
between the social media intern pulling out their phone and doing a boomerang, and then somebody being there catching the entire thing from beginning to end.
that's the part for me, like, in planning with these corporate events, they or corporate clients, they will forget. It's like they forget that they need to document the moment. And
Yes,
sometimes they do like a do-gooder thing, like a good event, or I'm a part of a community event and everything. Um, and they haphazardly, like mark it with their cell phones as a well, like a actual professional photographer. Um, and it's all based on the level of media
girl,
coverage
sorry.
from it. No, it's okay. It's okay. On, like, the level of media coverage that they want, and one of the challenges I always have is convincing them that you need someone there to take the proper photos.
I agree. I
Um,
agree.
and that's why I feel like that's a lot of the times why they're like, "Oh, we need a photographer. Let's just hire anybody with a camera." And it's like, you
Right.
can't, because you need storytelling, you need intention.
Yes.
When you're doing CSR work or social impact work, you need that intention in everything that you do so the photos come across what you're looking for it to come across as.
Right. I think that with corporate events in particular, especially with like CSR work, or if you are doing, especially doing any kind of like ERGs, like it's super important that like you have some semblance of official photography work. Because if you are a company that's saying, our ethos is in how different our employees are, and we really value our
Mhm,
staff and our teams and the work that we do on a collective level, then the
mhm,
imagery should show that. I have been lucky enough to have worked with certain corporate clients year to year to year.
right.
You know, some of them, but thankfully having that kind of relationship with me where they go, "Yeah, we're gonna see you next year. We like you already." And that's just off of like the first time taking pictures. So like something as simple as if you're at an event, you need to be taking pictures of every table, especially if people paid for tables. They're going to want some semblance of like,
That they
"Hey, we made the investment for this event or for your organization by paying for a table, and Cheyenne, you know more than me, tables are not cheap." So the very least I can do is take a picture of the table, of the people at the table, especially if the guest of honor or their friends or their spouse or whomever, they've sponsored another part of this event. Like one thing I've learned about corporate events, no matter the level, somebody
Mhm,
sponsored something. They're going to want official pictures of that, whether it's for their own personal gain, for their personal records, or for their own socials. I find that, ooh, this is gonna sound like I'm bashing corporations, but it's less of a bashing and more of a like read the room. Like for a lot of corporations, especially ones that don't have their feet in socials, they don't really see the importance in socials. There's for transparency, some of my corporate work includes in my rate, I'm gonna get you pictures the following day for newsletters, for thank you emails, for socials. And I've had some clients go, "Girl, we don't really need socials like that." And in the back of my head, I'm like, "Yes, you do."
right.
Quiet as kept. LinkedIn is a social media network. You plugged this event on LinkedIn for months and you
Mhm,
don't want pictures of the following day to say thank you,
mhm,
you're gonna need something. You're gonna need something. And a lot of the times I have found that as a photographer, I inadvertently play that missing link more than I would give myself credit for. Because for me, I'm like, girl, I just showed up to take pictures. But, now I'm navigating, okay, now I have to figure out what lighting this person prefers. What's their
mhm.
best side? Do they even want to be photographed? And, going back to finding that authenticity and being able to read the room, reading people is just as important, if not more important, than reading the room. So if the guest of honor is like, "No pictures, please." It's not on my place to go, "Oh, but it's on the shot list. You said no pictures." Now I have to get candids of you and pray to God these candids look good enough to plug after the event.
Yep. And I feel like that is that's important, right? Is understanding where you're at in terms of like where your client is at mentally, right? In terms of bringing the side of like, I don't want any photos or anything like that. Whether it's a corporate client, where whoever it is understanding if they don't want their photos taken, they don't want their photos taken, right?
Correct.
And that's it. And when I have a client like that on site, I'll even remind them because let's say birthday party, weddings, those photos take a little while to come out, right? I'll remind them, remember, your party was from 8 to 12, and at 10 o'clock, you said no more photos. So what you get is what you got. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that is absolutely okay, right? Don't come make us think that we didn't get this photo, that photo. I recommended somebody who didn't da 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 because you said no more photos, right?
I make a note on my shot list.
Mm-hmm.
Couple said no more pictures or, and I think that for me, that is such a save your ass kind of moment because I've never been in that predicament, but whether or not you had a good time with me, whether or not you tip me at the end of your wedding, if I leave at 7 o'clock and the party's over at 9 and you had me build until 9, you go, Shantae, thank you so much. I think we're good here. I'm gonna ask you at least 6 times. Are you sure? Your friends are here. They drove from all this way. I think we should get some fun. No,
Yep.
Shantae, I think we're good. At 7:12, couple said, we're good.
And that's
Lift,
it.
let's go home. And that's it.
And that's it. So I see here from your bio and just see your website, right? You've been featured in Self, Forbes, Galdem, Inverse, MSNBC, doing some events for them. How do those opportunities come about?
Funnily enough,
Hmm.
those were portraits I did of other people. Um, I think I've always found myself to be in the right place at the right time. I'm a Sagittarius, Jupiter, luck, woo woo stuff, tarot card, blah blah blah.
Yep.
But I have always found myself to be a great conversationalist
Hmm.
and finding people who are being photographed. My first ever credit for my photography was in Galdem, RIP Galdem. What a great publication. And a friend of mine at the time who was a singer, she put out an EP and we just did some pictures for fun around her house. And she ended up using those pictures for promotional material.
Yeah.
Um, I ended up realizing that my work was on MSNBC because, and this is the importance of social media, somebody from this political party, the Working Families Party, found my website and they were
Wow.
like, "Hey, we'd like for you to photograph the national director." And I was like, "Hey, I'm happy to do it." And in the back of my head, I was like, "But how'd you even find me?" And they found my Instagram, the Instagram where I sometimes burp in my IG stories, or sometimes I'm making polls and I'm like, "Y'all having a shitty day too, or is just me?" And going back to that authenticity of being like, yes, I might, shake
Hmm.
my butt on my Instagram, or I might, talk about not being able to get these pictures right in studio, but the work is going to show itself as being what it is. And I think more importantly, the kind of work that I do is the work that shows you at your best self, you at your highest self. Um, that situation, if it taught me anything, it taught me that like you really never know who's watching you. So
Right.
less of a you never know who's watching you, so step correct all the time. But for me, you never know who's watching you, so stand by everything that you're doing online. Whether
Right.
or not you feel the need to explain it, I need to be able to stand by that. So Yeah.
I think that you do a really good job at making people comfortable when you take photos. And when I look at your social media and I'll be stalking. When I look at your social media, it's captivating because it doesn't matter anyone's size, frame, shape, triangle, circle, oval, rectangle, square, uh,
Rhombus, trapezoid,
trapezoid, rhombus,
octagon.
square, all the shapes. You capture them so beautifully, and you really capture what the client wants. So if they want to do a sexy photo, but they and themselves, well, I don't want to say that they, because I'm not in the room, but if they're not feeling sexy, you still capture the sexiness of the person. And I love that. I don't know your editing process, but to me it seems like your editing process keeps the real in the
Yes.
person, so you can identify who it doesn't look like a Snapchat filter when you're finished. And it's wrong. Like, some people want that look if they take professional photos, but I love that you stay true to what the person actually looks like and keeping them looking like themselves.
And I've done a very good job at like making sure people understand that. So I feel like I remember in 2020 during lockdown, there was a point in time where a lot of big brands just stopped retouching their models.
Yeah.
Um, which to me, I really appreciated because I feel like lockdown did a number on everybody's sense of self when it came to their body. Like I joke all the time. I'm still this is me at lockdown. I might be a little bit less scale wise post lockdown, but like this is the body that kept me safe during lockdown. This is the body that kept me from getting terribly sick during lockdown. This is the body that maybe while I shouldn't have ordered out every single night because I tried to adhere to the order of don't go to the grocery store, I'm not thinking the supermarket is essential. I'm thinking, oh, I can't get celery. How about a buffalo wing? And it shows, right? But just like that authenticity of this is who I am, right? I am not going to book a photographer who is going to power wash me in retouching. I am not going to book a photographer who is going to look at me and say, "Well, I don't like that you look like this. I don't like that your titty is too big. I don't like that your middle toe is too long. So I'm going to take a picture of you and I'm going to go into Photoshop and do surgery." Now, let the record reflect. My mom paid a lot of money for photography school. I can do surgery in Photoshop. I just make a choice not to
Right.
because you wake up with yourself. You go to sleep with yourself. You look in the mirror. You are spending all of this time with yourself. Do not save your money and invest in a photographer to turn around and tell me all the things you don't like. Why did you hire me?
Yeah.
You should have taken that money and invested it in like a surgeon, the gym. Like if you are booking a photographer or you're booking any visual person, a videographer, a photographer, hairstylist, makeup artist, whatever, and you are coming in with reference pictures or mood boards that are the full opposite of what you look like, now we need to have a conversation. And as a photographer, I didn't know until it happened to me that I would also play the role of your therapist. So now if we're in the studio, if you booked a birthday shoot or you booked portraits for yourself for whatever reason, and you booked the studio for 2 hours, there have been times where I spent 45 minutes of those 2 hours talking to you and guiding you through and giving you that confidence that you needed. So that way, one, we're utilizing the full time that you book for the studio. And two, you're walking out better than you came in. I tell people all the time, I'd rather leave you better than I found you than to click, 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 and then walk out.
Right.
I've also had people, when I'm taking their picture and we're just having conversation in between shots saying like, oh wow, like you're really talking to me. And I'm like, yeah, you booked me. Why would I not talk to you? And they're like, I've had photographers who just like, they don't even pose me. They just like tell me, okay, do this. and they'll take 2 pictures and then they're leaving, and I'm like, "Well, that you're giving photographers a bad name, period, because, again, how am I supposed to learn you? How am I supposed to know, what to pose you in, how to pose you, where to pose you, if I don't know who
Mhm.
you are? I don't need to know who you are at your essence. I don't need to know your deepest, darkest secrets, but sometimes having that conversation means that we're going to find commonalities and we can use that commonality to boost your confidence while we're taking these pictures."
I think that is so crucial because even the shyest of um clients, they don't want to be in front of the camera for whatever reason, but they need to be. I think that it's important to have that conversation with them. And honestly, like you said, if your photographer is not like, we're in the business of people.
Yes.
If whoever vendor that you are hiring, if they can't talk to you as a person, right? What are we doing?
What are we doing exactly?
What are we doing? So I think that's powerful. And I know from facts, working with you and doing so many different events with you and photos for myself, even because I'm a behind the scenes girl.
Okay.
Yeah, you definitely made me very comfortable. And I usually feel very awkward in front of a camera. And I don't like being in front of a camera at all.
That's honestly such a high compliment because, again, like you said, as somebody who's also behind the camera, like being in front of the camera, I'm like, girl, for what? Okay, you got your picture. Bye. Let's go. Who else is on the docket? But for me, it's like you said, having at the very level foundation, like the first level of your foundation with your vendor should be, can we talk to each other? And, small talk, little jokes here and there, but can I get along with this person when there's like a little bit of downtime? You know what I mean? We don't have to be best friends when we walk out of the studio or once your event is over, but, a little bit of confidence in, I can befriend this person or I can have a good time with this person goes a very long way. And I think that's the difference in terms of the clients who end up booking me between somebody who wants Shanté Carlan photography at their event and somebody who just wants a person with a camera. And I think
Right.
that also talks about, and we're talking about me as a photographer, but we're like just zooming out to vendors in general. That also talks about how you respect a vendor's craft. Like, there have been events that I've worked where somebody's trying to get my attention and they go, "Photographer, photographer, you know my name.
Yeah.
Please use my name."
Yeah.
And, people who will tap me on the shoulder and go, "Hey, Shantae, we're looking for this." Or, "Hey, Shantae, have you eaten? Hey, Shantae, do you need some water? We're going to go grab some XYZ. Can I get anything for you?" And I've been so lucky to move away from the photographer events to people who know my name and use it when
Right.
communicating with me.
Um, Speaking of that, like what are some things that you think a client needs to know or should know when booking a photographer?
Don't be afraid to tell a photographer your budget. Even if you think that that budget is like 2 shekels and a camel. Listen, camels are valuable. You don't know what we can use a camel for.
Mhm.
As a prop.
Mhm.
Um, if things go really bad, that's a food source. Like, don't be afraid to tell your photographer what your budget is, because depending on the photographer that you book, they
Mhm.
might have something within your budget.
Right.
It might not be the full experience, but you're still able to get something for what your monetary budget is. Going back to what we were talking about earlier in regards of having that connection with your vendor, depending on who the vendor is, we're talking about photography, so let's use me. Like, depending on who you are, I'll say, you might not have the money for the full hour and a half session, but, you know, I'll give you a 30-minute session and I'll throw in an extra picture for you because we're having dialogue. I know a little bit more about you, and I don't want you to hear that kind listener and go, "Oh, I'm gonna milk every vendor for a discounted experience," because ultimately you get what you pay for. But if in earnest your budget, thank you. If in earnest your budget is small, don't go with the assumption that because your budget is small, you're not gonna find a vendor. You will find a vendor, but you just need to be prepared that you need to be prepared for what your budget will yield you
Mhm.
depending on the vendor you're booking.
Mhm. Um, I think that's I think across the board, budget is like a big one. Everyone's shy about their budget. Everyone thinks it's not enough. And I feel like I'm gonna say luxury vendors, typically they're more popular. So in all, I do think that how they communicate to clients is not how every vendor communicates to clients.
Yes.
And they do what they have to do over there in that realm, right? Because they have to leave space for the clients who can afford $20,000 for a photographer for one event, right?
Yeah.
But then everybody else that's under here, it seems kind of rough and it seems like a laugh in your face, like, oh, you like my work? It's 20K. If you can't afford that, buy. And
Mhm.
I note like what you said, there's vendors out here who are willing to work with you in a certain way, in a certain caliber. And like you're saying, like it may not look like what you envision. It may not look like said photographer up here, but there are people who are willing to work. And I think the issue that I come across with a lot of vendors, just the kind of not vendors, for clients merging it together, is that they're so fixated on their Pinterest board.
Yes.
This client up of whoever did whatever up here at that level, that cost level, that when they're talking to someone who's actually within their budget, they're rude, they're dismissive, they're
Yes.
demanding.
Yes.
And then it just, for me, it's just kind of like, all right, so then in order for me to like get clients who actually going to care about the work that I do and say, hey, Cheyenne, you're the creative, just do what you got to do. This is what we want. I got to be up here too.
Yo, abolish boon boards, please. Listen, as somebody who loves Pinterest, as somebody who has acquired a lovely audience of monthly impressions on Pinterest, please abolish the mood board. Abolish mood boards, abolish references. Because what happens is that you think that you now I'm going to say it. You think that you put this reference together, this mood board together, your references of whatever, and that because you put these references together, now your vendor has to copy the exact thing that you're seeing, that you've shown them in the mood board, in the reference images. And you're not paying for me to copycat somebody else's work. You might like the mood of the work. You might like the aesthetic of that person's work. But if you are hiring me to copy somebody else's work, save your money and hire them.
Right.
And this is me speaking as somebody who offers shoots at $250, $100 at the lowest, and who offers shoots as high as 750, 800. And depending on who you talk to, I'm not charging enough for my work. I should be charging more. But that goes back to reading the room. I'm reading the room enough to know that there are people that, first of all, I am reading the room enough to know that what I am offering is a luxury to a lot of people. So I got to start there. Two, I'm reading the room and knowing that the economy is hard for a lot of people right now. Three, I am reading the room as somebody who is a cousin, a
Mm.
auntie, a friend, and not a parent. And a lot of the people who book me have one kid, have two kids, have jobs, have responsibilities. So it is impossible for me personally it's impossible for me to comprehend the fact that your budget is this much and you're sending me a mood board that had a budget of this much and expecting me to work to match this budget with this one. And I feel like, going back to what you were saying earlier, finding those clients who are combative and who are aggressive, um it's difficult because it's almost like they are chastising us for not meeting them where they are. And it's like, no, 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 we're meeting you where you are. We're just asking you to be more realistic.
Sick.
We're asking you to be realistic so that we can give you as close as we can get to channeling that
Yeah.
without copying it. Because ultimately, whether or not I'm a photographer or a copywriter or a event planner, this is our intellectual property. So if my intellectual property leans on copying somebody else, we're not using our talent to the best ways that we can.
Hmm. And I think when it comes to events, clients need to know that we are creatives, right?
Yes.
Even though it doesn't look like we are a graphic designer producing instant work, drawing, artist, painting, all the other mediums, this is a level of art. This is a level of creativity, and this is a really eye of, especially photography, is the eye of the beholder moment, right? When you're hiring someone, you're hiring them based on their eye of beholder moment as opposed to the editing that you see. That should always come second, in my opinion. That should come second, right? Because editing, you could take a photo from a photographer and then you can go to an editor. That's an actual job. And they can edit it however you want it to be edited, right? And I always say to clients, like, in terms of for me, don't ask me to do something that you could type in a word and it's a different job on Instagram
Mm, mhm,
or
mhm, mhm.
whatever, because
Yeah.
that's someone else's job.
Yes.
It's to plan the events, not to sit here and take your camera and take photos of you.
Correct.
Not to run behind the catering table to serve food out. That's not my job.
Correct. Funnily enough, in your same prompt, for lack of a better term, as a photographer, my job is to show up and take pictures. I'm not creative director. I'm not styling. I certainly am not craft services. I just started learning how to cook for real, for real. Like, I am photographer. Do I have the skills to creative direct and produce? Yes. Do I have the skills for hairstyling? Barely. Am I coming to build a set? No. There is set design, and people go to school and get degrees for set design. So I'll never forget this. I had a person do a I don't remember if it was a collaborative shoot or if my self-confidence was just so low, I just did the work for free. I genuinely can't remember, but it was a hair shoot, and she had these beautiful, grandiose ideas, and
Yeah.
all she had for me was a white wall, and we made it work. To be honest, we made it work. Those were some of my favorite pictures and strongest pictures at the time, and she sent me an email back, and she was like, I'm really not happy with these pictures. I thought it was gonna be glamorous. I thought it was gonna be, you know, well edited. I thought it was gonna be this, that, and the third. And I didn't know how to say it in the moment because I didn't have the verbiage and I would have fully cussed her out. And I don't know how to fight. So I wasn't even gonna go down that route. But like what I wanted to say that I couldn't find a way to say professionally was like, you gave me a white wall.
Yeah.
For you to look for, grand backdrops and, editing the likes of what you're seeing in, like, fashion magazines, like, you gave me a white wall.
Yeah.
And, the same thing goes for other vendors, like, I feel like we're so algorithmically inclined to be everything
Mhm.
when we just need to be good at that one thing.
One thing.
So, like, as graphic designers, like, you don't need to be a videographer and a calligrapher. Well, no, if you're a graphic designer, you might wanna take up calligraphy, but you know what I mean? Like, if you are a culinary person and you are a culinary, like, god, you don't need to be a videographer.
Yeah.
You don't need to be a influencer. I don't want to come with you to dinner. Show me how you made the thing. If
Yeah.
you went to a cool restaurant and you had this tuna tartare that was like from the depths of the New Zealand Sea, but you live across the street from Key Food. Show me how you can take that same thing and recreate it on your own. That is the difference between taking somebody's IP and using it in your own way, so that way it's your intellectual property versus copying somebody's stuff word for word, bar for bar. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
you're not obligated to copy somebody else to get ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, so we are going to do some quick fire questions,
Okay.
right? Okay. So, well, I'm gonna say, yeah, more like rapid fire questions, I think. Okay. So Instagram, Pinterest, or TikTok?
Instagram, I'm old.
I love Instagram. TikTok is
Love
too much.
Instagram.
Too much. If you had to shoot one celebrity portrait tomorrow, who are you gonna call to shoot
Rihanna,
them? That's a good answer. If photography didn't exist, what would you be doing?
hair and makeup.
Hair and makeup. Very nice. I did not. That one is surprising. I didn't think you would say hair and
That
makeup.
was the backup plan if photography did not work, because I always want to be creative in any capacity. If photography did not work, I would still be in the studios. I would just be doing hair and makeup.
Yep. In the studios. Coffee, tea, or something stronger?
Coffee.
Coffee. I'm a coffee girl too. All right. So before we wrap up, I have two questions for manifestation because I'm all about we're gonna speak good things into existence for our businesses,
Yes,
what we want in the future, and it's out in the world now, so it has to happen, right? That's
absolutely.
all right. So what's a type of project or I guess subject or event that you haven't shot yet that you want to explore?
The Caribbean Music Awards. It happened. I think this year will be like year 4 or year 3. And I remember the first year, people were very critical of the production. And I was
Yeah,
like, yo, give it time. This is the first year. And in the back of my head, I was like, damn, like, who do I know that I didn't like talk to about doing photography for like the step and repeat or just like photographing the show itself? Like, who do I not know that I need to know? One. Two, who do I know who did not consider me? That's not a bad thing to not consider me, right? But like, who do I not know that I need to get to know? Who do I know that did not consider me or that I'm not utilizing in the way that I should? Because I feel like as creatives, and I'm gonna be that person and say it, as women who are creatives, we are so inclined to do everything by ourselves
we are.
and not lean on the people around us.
It's true.
So that's something that I'm doing more of, just like leaning on my creative peers and saying, "Hey, can you help me with this? Hey, do you need me to help you with that?" And just being I don't know if I'm using the right word, but like being symbiotic for each other. Um so the Caribbean Music Awards for sure. Um and do you remember the Soca Gold CDs, the Reggae Gold CDs?
That come out every year. Yep.
Yeah, like, people don't buy, like, physical product anymore, but I do feel and see, like, a renaissance in people buying physical media again, and whether or not people buy physical media again, just, like, photographing a Reggae Gold or Soca Gold cover. Just, like,
Nice.
all the things that I grew up with and all the things that I grew up around, just, like, being able to be the person to, like, photograph that, like, I don't know, like, I wanna be the one to photograph Barrington Levy, like, I wanna be the one to photograph Shensia, like, I just wanna be and not just, like, people within, like, the Caribbean, right, like, the Caribbean diaspora, but just, like, the way that you look at a picture that I take and you go, "Oh, I know that's Shanté's work." Seeing a
Yeah.
picture of, like, somebody really big within, like, our Caribbean community and go, "Oh, wait, I know that editing."
Yeah,
Shanté
that
took
was
that
her.
picture. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, yeah,
yep,
yeah. And I really feel like the work that I'm doing now is building more toward that. I feel like there was a point in time, especially when I began working for myself and being self-employed, where I was not photographing for self. I was photographing to make money. So I was taking pictures that a potential client would like without recognizing that I can have multiple clients
yeah,
and that not be a bad thing. So,
yep,
just leaning more into the kind of work that I've always wanted to do, which is, really colorful, really fun, like very much like you look at the picture and you go, I wish I was there or I wish I was that person.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I definitely get that, and we speaking that into existence, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna find
A-
somebody that's there who's
Amen.
somebody who knows somebody who's around some
Okay, okay. You know
okay?
what? That
Yep.
and I'm gonna celebrate my wins more. So I got nominated for Outstanding Photographer of the Year for the Full Figured Industry Awards. So I'm manifesting that win. So we'll find out in November.
Hey,
Yay!
congratulations. I love to
Ew.
hear that.
Yeah.
When did you find that out?
About a month ago? Maybe a month ago? Yeah, voting just closed on that. Voting just closed on that. So, the next step is seeing if I'm a finalist and then submitting my stuff to the judging board.
I love that. Okay, okay. Um, and then the last question I have, well, no, 2 questions. Well, maybe.
Ask them
Um,
both.
okay, what do you, want people to feel when they leave a session with you?
Like they're on top of the world. Like, I don't necessarily endorse this, but like I want you to leave a session with me and like want to drop kick somebody. Like I want you to like leave a session with me and like cartwheel through to Jackie Robinson. Like I want you to feel like
Go run through
remember remember when Funkmaster Flex premiered Otis on Hot 97 and he was like, I want you to go in the register of your local deli and take all the money out and like I want you want you to feel like that. I want you to feel like incredible, like you can do anything. I want you to feel when you leave a session with me like that thing you've been putting off for so long, whatever, do it, who cares? Like just be so confident and almost delusional in the things that you want to do and do it.
and just do it. I love
Yeah.
that. Um, okay, so my last question, right? Is there anything else that you want to manifest for yourself?
The fact that my brain said, a boyfriend, a boyfriend.
She is
Yeah.
single and ready to mingle, fellas. Get your photos taken first,
The
though.
mingle, let's be clear. The mingle is in lowercase. The mingle is in lowercase 8-point font, but like it's there, it's there, it's there, it's
She's
there.
single and ready to mingle. Like that.
Yes, 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 yes.
Right. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you so much for putting up with my shenanigans and all the
Your
things.
shenanigans, mine. I told you. Listen, look, you didn't see me pulling on my little chin hairs. We've been here, shenanigans together.
Shenaniganing together. I love that. Uh if wait, last thing. Please put
Okay,
in your
okay.
how can people find you? How can they follow you? How can they view your work? All the good things. And then I'll close it
Yeah.
from
So you can follow me on most of the socials, Instagram, Spill, Pinterest. I know I said Instagram over Pinterest, but Pinterest is fun. I really enjoy Pinterest. Shaz the Photog across all platforms. SHAZTHEPHOTOG. Shazthephotog.com. That's where like the really fun and prominent work lives. If you see me in the street, no, you didn't. I'm probably cartwheeling down someplace or singing real loud, hooting and hollering. So if you see me in the streets, you probably didn't. But if you did, just say, "Hey, girl." Imma say hey back and invite you for drinks, on you, and
You, that's right.
maybe on me, you know, but
Depending
yeah,
on it.
yeah, depending on how the breeze blow, you know, if a ladybug was on your shoulder, maybe, but yeah, I'm easily findable and for the most part, easily approachable. So when you see me, say hi, I'll make you laugh.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being a part. Everyone who is watching, please do all the things. This is going to be on YouTube. So like, share, subscribe, and then also hype up when you see it later. And then for my social media people, just follow, be a part of the community. If you have any
Share,
questions,
comment,
share
engage,
all things on your
save the post.
story.
Child, you know the algorithms be changing every day, so you know the algorithms be changing every day, so
No,
everything.
I know. And like
Yeah.
Jalen says, POV, have a great day. Until,
POV, you're having a good day.
until next time, I am Cheyenne with the 10-Minute Planner, owner Simply Elegant Events. We'll see y'all soon.